Thanks to Ray Boble's passion for the Pennsylvania Railroad GG1 Blackjack, the 4935, I have found myself in possession of two N-scale Kato GG1s. My first GG1 came with a TCS drop-in decoder, but my second GG1 came without DCC. In today's video, I'm going to install the MRC Electric Traction Sound Decoder into my second Kato GG1. Welcome to Humanity Junction, where the city intersects with humans. While the MRC drop-in decoder for a Kato GG1 is not as common as the TCS or the T-Trak's drop-in decoders, the MRC is the only one that comes with sound. Since I already had a TCS decoder, I decided that I would give the MRC a try and see if having sound was a good addition to the Kato GG1. Before starting this installation, I looked online to see if I could find a video on it. Just looking at the images of the TCS or T-Trak's decoder in comparison to the MRC decoder, I knew the drop-in installation would be different. While there are plenty of TCS and T-Trak's installs online, as well as a lot of photos on how the GG1 comes apart, I could not find any photos or videos on the installation of the MRC sound decoder into the GG1. Maybe my Google foo wasn't working. The Kato GG1 is a split chassis locomotive. The power is transferred from the track into the chassis, and then the decoder picks up the power off the chassis. Then the tabs on the side of the decoder slide into the chassis but not touching the chassis and make contact with the motor. The motor needs to be electrically isolated from the chassis so that the power runs through the decoder to the motor. On this decoder, the speaker is mounted right in the center of it. While this means that the speaker is really small, it also makes it easy to install. I definitely need to reference the directions for this install. For reference, the decoder is MRC item number 0001952. Before I install the decoder into the locomotive, I wanted to do a test with just the decoder. I used some wires with alligator clips on both ends to connect the decoder to my DCC test track. My test track is connected to the programming output of my Digikai's DR5000 command station. I will be using the T-Trak's UT60 throttle wirelessly to a UR93, which is connected via LocoNet to the DR5000. The first thing that I checked was the LED lights on the decoder. Using F0, I can turn on and off the LED, and by switching the locomotive's direction, the LED would switch from the front to the back of the decoder. I also used F2, the horn, to make sure that the sound on the decoder was working. I'm now ready to move on and install the decoder into the locomotive. To take the shell off the chassis on a Kato GG1, you need to get a little bit of space between the shell and the chassis just to the outside of the steps on the locomotive. Some people recommend using toothpicks to help with the separation, but I just used my fingers. I tried putting everything in the foam cradle in the same orientation as they came off the locomotive so that I could reinstall them correctly in the future. After removing the shell, you need to also remove the plastic cover over the light board as well as two light pipe pieces. The existing light board slides out really easily. There's a big difference between the DC light board and the MRC sound decoder. The DCC decoder replaces the DC light board. The next step is filing off two small tabs. Per the instructions, I'm going to use painter's tape on either side of the tabs to minimize getting any metal dust into the motor of the locomotive. I put a piece of paper over my work surface for easy cleanup, and as hard as it was to file the tabs with the locomotive upside down, I decided that taking the extra time was worth not getting metal into the motor. Lately, these small files have been coming in really handy. I checked my progress every so often until the tabs filed smooth on the top of the chassis. There are a few locations where you need to add Kapton tape. The tape ensures that there is electrical separation between the decoder and the chassis. I put two pieces of tape on the top of the chassis. These pieces of tape will be just below where the LED lights are located on the decoder. I also put Kapton tape on the outside of the motor contacts on the decoder. It is very important that the motor contacts are not touching the chassis. The power into the decoder is achieved by bending the flat metal pieces on each end of the decoder so that they can be slid into place on the chassis. I used some pliers with a flat jaw to bend the wires. Then I made sure the contacts were seated in the right place. When I first tested the decoder installation, The lighting and sound functions worked, but I did not have any motor functions. CMR Products has designed and developed several in-house brands and are continually creating new items. Please check out their products at cmrproducts.com and use the discount code HUMAN for 7% off their in-house brands. Iron Planet Hobbies is a model railroad shop that specializes in DCC. They also have select products from many other brands. Please visit their website at ironplanethobbies.com and use the discount code HUMAN at checkout to receive a 10% discount and free shipping in the USA. And now a huge thank you to all of my supporters on both Patreon and those that purchased items from my Teespring store. If you would like to find out more information about supporting this channel, all of the links are in the description below. One thought was that I needed to reinstall the plastic cover as this would push the motor contacts against the motor. But when trying to reinstall the cover, I realized that the MRC Sound Decoder is a lot wider than the DC light board, or the TCS or T-Trak decoders. So the absence of the plastic cover was not the issue. So I got out my Optivisor and a flashlight and tried to see the contact point. When this did not work, I started comparing the length of the light board motor contacts to the length of the MRC motor contacts. The light board contacts were twice the length of the decoder contacts, but the decoder contacts were folded in half. I did not understand why the motor contacts on the decoder were folded in half, and they are folded in half on both of the decoders of this type that I have, so it did not seem like a mistake. But with the motor contacts being so far below the decoder, I decided to try unfolding the contacts. You need to do this very carefully so that you do not break them. I also went back and reapplied the Kapton tape so that it covered the entire length of the contacts when they were unfolded. I was a bit concerned that this was not the correct solution, but I could not find any information that would indicate otherwise. So I reinstalled the decoder with the motor contacts unfolded and placed it back on the programming track. I was a little bit nervous that I was going to release the smoke in the decoder when I turned on the track power. The good news is that there was not any smoke, and now I had movement. My assumption is that unfolding the motor contacts is the correct solution. If you've installed the MRC drop-in sound decoder into a Kato GG1 and know something different, please let me know in the comments below. Before putting on the shell, I thought I had to reinstall the light pipes. Looking at the directions, I could not find any information one way or another. I eventually figured out that in addition to the plastic cover, the larger size of the MRC decoder also meant that I did not need the light pipes. After sliding the shell back onto the locomotive, I retested everything and I was very happy with how everything was operating. In a future video, I will go through all of the functions of the MRC drop-in decoder for the Kato GG1. I will also compare the MRC decoder to the TCS decoder. Thank you for following along, and I hope that if you are going to install this decoder, that this video will make your install go flawlessly. I am what I am because of who we all are. Thank you for watching. Please leave any comments or questions below and hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe and select the bell icon to be notified about future videos and join this community. Thank you and have a great day.